Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ranting Atheist podcast. Today we'll be listening to the third part of the recording from the Clubhouse archive. The room was titled Christianity is not a religion, because Christians like to say Christianity is not a religion, but I call bullshit serious bullshit. So we listen to the third part and we get the usual trope and so on and so forth. So if you're here to subscribe up, please consider subscribing. Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and other places podcasts are available. Then also check out the links in the show notes for anything that you might find interesting. So let's go and listen to the third part of the Clubhouse room that was titled Christianity is not a religion.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, Daddy Redipo, please go on. I know you've been flashing your mic since. Then after you, we'll have Ifedolapo again.
Okay, so Big Daddy Oyedepo here again. Briefly, I'll just react to a couple of points here and there. I heard one or two persons say, or they were in agreement that one person cannot start a religion of his own, and I don't think that is true. By definition, religion has nothing to do with numbers. It's not a numbers game. It has everything to do with practice and has nothing whatsoever to do with number. Like I said in my first submission, if I pray to a jug of milk every morning between 7 to 9, this jug of milk is in my fridge, and this jug of milk is symbolizing the supernatural being that I believe, or a supernatural jug of milk that I believe is, beyond or bigger than this universe out there, in the heavens. This small jug of milk here is representing that bigger jug of milk out there. I am religious in the real sense of it. I do not need to, have a congregation in my kitchen or, have appoint deacons or ministers. There is no need for that. I alone, and then if I want to in the future, I can, indoctrinate folks to believe that this jug of milk has really been interceding on my behalf and sending my requests to his, the bigger jug of milk out there. And my requests and my prayers have been answered. And the ones that have not been answered, it knows why it has not been answered. So yeah, I could in the near future, get more members, but it does not invalidate what I have been practicing from the beginning. It just shows that I was the one to start it. I don't think it makes any less of what I was doing at the very beginning. That is one. Two, I would like to say this. Religion, let me put it like this. All religious persons are spiritual, but not all spiritual persons are religious. I'll take that again. All religious persons are spiritual, but not all spiritual persons are religious. So what do I mean by that? As a religious person, you must identify with the existence of, this spiritual being, this supernatural being. You must acknowledge and worship that spiritual being, whether you call it supernatural or spiritual. That is a religious person, carrying out some form of spirituality. However, there are spiritual persons that would not necessarily believe that there is this supernatural being. There are spiritual persons that will not necessarily believe that there is this spiritual being that they must, answer to. So, for instance, a lot of people don't know that yoga is actually just, It started out as a form of, meditation, you know, releasing your senses. So I really, I really don't know how it works, but it seems like it works for a lot of people. So, now it has become so fashionable. A girl, ladies these days just carry their their yoga mat and, oh, I'm going for yoga. It's now hip, but it all started out, in Asia as some form of meditation. It's a spiritual exercise, but it's not necessarily religious. It's not like you have some, like Jadon was saying, some moral codes or some uh, you know behavioral patterns, or you must pray to. They are not praying. No, they are just it's some form of relaxation. So, um, is that all I had to say? I think so. So yeah, but on the religion thing, and it's making it seem like we need members and board of trustees before we call it a religion. I don't think that's true. By definition, you don't need an yes. The last point I was going to make. Sorry, I just remembered. You know, Fafa was saying, you know, he is not religious, but he believes that there is someone out there, and he identified this someone with the pronoun he. And if you listen to Fafa, you can tell that he is pretty much, even though he has left a, gone away from the systematic practice or whatever religion he was a part of in the flesh, he still is there in some way in the spirit. So, I think it has in some way, shape or form, formed his worldview on how this world came to be. And I'll just say that, because he made it seem like, it's a he and it's one person. And I would ask, what makes you think it's one? Why don't you think it's 10 persons that brought this world to be? Like, what informed your decision that it's one as opposed to 10, as opposed to 50, right? So it goes to show you that it's pretty much of what you are saying is what you have been taught all these years. We don't know. There's so much we don't know, but to fill in the gaps with it's one guy out there would be, for lack of a better word, lazy of us to do. You know, the right thing for us to do is to each day ask questions and keep poking the bear of ignorance. Um, you know, when you, I know, if now I would say this, if there is a creator, I would tell you for free that he has done a very, very bad job. Because if you look around you, just do a quick Google search. 90% of biological life right now is extinct. It's like making a car and 90% of the car has been damaged. You are a terrible mechanic. So, then I was going to say one last point, then I'll drop my mic. Two things: creation, causation. Now, for you to say that something was created, it must mean that it is a product of a creator. But if you say that something is a product of causation, it must mean that some things came to be and caused that thing to happen. So for instance, rain is not created. It's a product of causation. So I'm just putting that out there. Now, I am not saying the world is a product of causation. I am just opening that possibility that it very well might be, because if you look around you and how, the world is in a very, very bad shape. There are disasters here and there. 90 to 95% of biological life is right now extinct. You know, if there is a creator, I would like to think that, all of this is a product of causation, and, that's why there is all this, chaos. Because if there is a creator and this creator really is orderly, you would see much more orderliness than we are seeing today. Human beings that we are, as glorified that, we have glorified our very existence, but in the entire universe, I don't think we can even move. We can, cohabit in less than even, I don't know what the numbers are, but, outside this earth, you can't go, there's only so far that you can go. It's like a very big room, and let's say you are in a room as big as, say, 5 plots of land, and all you can stay is on just one tiny tile, or maybe like just, one tiny circle. And that's, if you move, 2 feet away, you are iced, or if you move 2 feet forward, you're iced. If you move 2 feet backward, you would melt. So I just wanted to put those, facts out there. Thank you.
All right, now. Thank you for that, bro. Ife, you want to add something?
Okay, so when you guys were talking about spirituality and religion, I just say that, and I think he already covered it, that spirituality is a necessary condition for religion, but it's not sufficient enough for it to call it religion. Necessary condition in the sense that for you to call it a religion, you need to be spiritual, but you have to do some other necessary things. You have to go a bit step further before you call it religion. The things that separate religion from spirituality would be doctrine. You have, other shit like worship. Because if you say that, the things people always talk about whenever they're talking about spirituality, when you're talking about ritual, is usually to the end goal. So why are you doing these rituals? Spiritual people do rituals in order to attain things they call spiritual development. So that's how, take for example, the example you gave, yoga, you know, astrologers. You can't call them, religious, but you can see that there are certain things where they say shit like, speak it into existence or manifest positive energy. You can see how it plays that it feels like ritual, or they are rituals, but it's not enough for you to call it religion because they are not really worshiping anybody or anything. When you now start going like, we are worshiping this shit, we are acknowledging. So spirituality is just acknowledging that there is more to life than the physical realm. You acknowledge that, what we see, what we feel, everything that makes us physical beings isn't all there is to life. And when you now like say that, okay, there is a little bit more, that's when you now call the spiritual realm. And if you now decide that you want to engage the spiritual realm for your own personal gain, then you now start talking about shit like, are you worshiping a being, or are you not? Are you, or whatever. So that was what, I was going to point out about spirituality and religion. So just put that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ife. Now, we have 2 new speakers on. We'll soon be wrapping up now. It's over 2 hours. Kingsley and Olori. So, Kingsley, please go.
Hi, everyone. I think Christianity is religion, and I believe that religion is a mixture of culture and spirituality. Those two things combined together is what makes religion. Just like every other religion that I know of has elements of cultural practices in it. So Christianity, in my own opinion, is religion. Thank you.
Wow, nice one. Thank you very much.
This one's I'll be used time very well.
Olori.
Okay, I'm good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I came on because I've been listening to people speak and giving their submission. And I just want to give my own insight, right? My insight is, it's almost seeming like, maybe it's me, maybe I'm hearing wrongly, but it's almost like people are sort of insinuating that probably religion is a more, better outlook to life than spirituality. And spirituality is just something that is just, on the surface. But this is what I'm going to say, right? For me, right, spirituality is finding balance with nature. And religion is following a doctrine of someone or a group of people who come together and just, put together their own ideology on what they think, is the route to God. And somebody made a statement that how do we know God is one? I think we can all agree that mathematics is the language of the universe. So if math is the language of the universe, there's a one, zeros and one. We're on the zeros and one. So, and the one is what ties everything together. And if we look scientifically, we see that everything is a subset of something. And that one thing is that thread that ties everything together. I'm a part of nature, but I'm a different manifestation of nature, right? But I am from nature. And it's almost like we all came from something, just one thing. And even when we look at the Big Bang Theory, right? Science still goes and say, okay, the nature cannot just pop out of nothing, right? They still go and say, oh, it came out of a singularity concept. There's a singularity concept behind Big Bang Theory where the world came out of a space where there was no time and there was no space. So all these theories still point to something. And if we look at spirituality, for me, is older than religion. Religion came out of spirituality. They brought out spirituality, religion out of spirituality. And we can see that in the Egyptian times, like the Kemet times, where the Romans came into Egypt and they stayed there. They observed the Egyptians' knowledge and their views on
The Greeks.
spirituality, and they picked out of it and implemented it into their own beliefs. So we should understand that humans have evolved over time, and they've also evolved in sense of gaining knowledge, right? So they have been able to extract knowledge from all of these doctrines. And for me, this is what I think. This is what I think. From beginning, and if you look scientifically, it's proven that men were, we evolved from, I don't agree that we're apes, but I agree that we're part animals and then we're humans. I don't agree that we evolved from fish, right? But I agree that we're animals, right? So
stay on the topic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm almost done.
No. We're not going to stay on the topic. She has to answer.
I think are we not still lagging out?
But let's just let her
land.
I'm a biology.
Perfect. But let her just go on. So I would like Jide to respond.
Let her finish, please.
Okay, so for me, this is how I see it, right? Because if I look at the world right now, every tribe, humans were made, we formed a group. And in that group, in every region of the world, whether Indian, whether Chinese, whether Japanese, whether Yoruba, whether South African, it was necessary for humans to form a tribe to survive. And because we are social animals. And while forming that tribe, we needed to connect. We needed to grow a set of consciousness that we connect on a moral level, right? So on that level, tribe was created. And in tribe is where we have spirituality. And tribe is not just about language, right? it now becomes a repository between man and nature. What has happened? How has man been able to conquer this? How have been able uh, to solve some issues? How have been able to grow and all of that? So it was necessary for humans. The way I see it, right, is inevitable for humans to be spiritual. It's inevitable because we are not just right now. So that for me, I see that trend. I see that trend all over. The Indians, the Hindus, the Chinese, they have their own doctrine. The Yoruba people have their own doctrine, and it's so persistent. And because of that, it's like man is trying to balance with nature, and I think that's the purpose of it. So religion for me is a subset of spirituality. It has no deep knowledge on nature and why we're here. That's all I have to say.
All
If you
right,
want to ask,
thank you.
Can
Benjamin,
I?
then Azili.
Okay. See, first of all, I think we should rewind ourselves a lot. I would say this again. Religion has nothing to do with numbers. It has nothing to do with popularly followed doctrines. Those are established religions. We can have a personal religion. Look, a lawyer following what he does and following his way of handling his cases to the latter is religious to his law. We should understand what religion is and then get the lines to it. Religion does not need most of these things we add to it, spirituality and all that. And again, spirituality, when I hear it's, I like what Olori said. I hope I got your name right. He said it's man finding a balance with nature. I like what he said, but man, when you start saying things as spiritual, it means there's an extra material or extra human or extra whatever, extra earthly or extra existent part of a particular person or being or thing, which is not true. There's no life after earth. There's no life. There's no consciousness that is carried on into another plane after here. There's no evidence for it anywhere. There's nothing. So if you say spiritual and you want to carry another sense of yourself, another whatever of yourself, then we are making ourselves get the different meaning for what spiritual actually is. Now let's go back to proper definitions of all these things so that we could understand. Your spirit is just your essence. Feelings, the combination of feelings of how that being, that person is at that moment. He has his happy feelings, he has his spirit, he had a happy spirit. Your spirit sad, he had a sad spirit. Spirit is just your essence, the person's being, his courage as at that moment. There's nothing like soul, like one other part of the human being called soul. So soul is just anybody that has life that can breathe. So the only thing we have is just man here and now. And that is it. If we start adding all these things and putting all this other, then we should just realize that we are still practicing a religion we have not named. If we still think there's this spiritual thing attached, there's this other extra human, extra understanding. No, the only thing we've not understood, and we will always find hard to understand, is how nature started up and how it's existing. Listen, in the old days, in the old times when we said people were more spiritual then, according to Olori and some other subjections here, they didn't understand the way things worked. So they came up with concepts or ideas and then tried to, attribute these things to particular forces. They personalized these forces and made them look like they were, like man. Because man is greedy and jealous. The only thing he sees is through the eyes of man. So what do you expect when he sees a very heavy wind blew a tree and fell on somebody? Oh, the gods of the wind were angry. It must be a force that is controlled by something too that is like us, that feels and all that. Meanwhile, it's just something natural. The moment you understand these natural phenomenon and can manipulate and use them and handle them, the whole mysticism behind it ends. I take, for example, we're all talking, we're online. We didn't understand radio waves and GSM communications. If this was discovered in 1635, whoever discovered GSM and radio waves would have been hung by one wicked king in the precepts of his not following the Bible, or it's another high level spirit that we do not understand. But now we understand radio waves. We understand how to use them, how to generate them, how to, in details tweak and manage it. It's lost its spirit, the courage to which would have, attached some mysticism or spirituality or some extraterrestrial or extra existential lifestyle to it. And that's why these things we call spirit or these
Benjamin,
other things we do
sorry
not
to
understand.
interject. Please, I need
No
to point
problem.
out something to you. I hope you understand that
Yeah.
belief is, acceptance of something that,
Sorry.
as true, especially something that is without proof.
That's the thing, belief.
Can I?
And the moment you hold a belief, you're religious.
So when you're
Sorry. I want to cut
about,
in. Sorry. 1 house, please. Sorry. Did you just say belief is holding something without proof?
yes,
No, I don't think so. You can believe something with proof now. I believe that
With
I
proof, yes,
have
you
a
can have
belief that
belief
I'm
with
inside my
proof,
room
yes.
right now.
I'm talking
So
about.
No.
There's a
You don't.
difference
You
between
don't.
belief
You
and
don't.
belief.
See,
Once you have some,
Hold
once
on.
you know
One
something,
house.
you know
the
it.
moment,
Wow,
sorry,
wow,
can I
wow.
say, one
Please,
house,
let me
can I
clear. I
say,
said something. Let me clear it. Believe
okay,
and believe are two different things. I'm talking about a
definitely.
belief system. When we're talking about belief system, it's tied to religion.
yeah, belief. Sorry to cut you short. Belief system is different from belief. You can have any
I'm talking
belief.
Yes,
about belief
yes,
system. As
So
belief,
just
belief.
be
to be
accurate to
true,
what.
you interjected and you misunderstood what I was saying. So I'm trying to clear you, John. I'm not talking about
Okay,
belief that you're in your room. I'm talking about
Even
belief
God,
system, accepting that something is true
belief.
without proof. And the
sorry,
reason why
even
I'm pointing it out to Benjamin, is for Benjamin to understand that
Yeah.
these things exist in the society. That he chose to not believe in it doesn't mean that people
Can
who
can
believe
I
in it
can
are
I
not
can I
out
say
there.
can I say something? Can I say? I'll point out with glaring examples. I'm a Bayelsan, okay, and in my place there are a lot of things that they've called spiritual, including the thing they call Igbesu. Now, when people believe in something without question, it gives them the guts, the will to dare, and it works for them. Why I mean works is because it has given them that ability to forget the fear that comes with failure of whatever they are putting themselves into. The moment they start doubting, that fear comes in. Whatever happens to them happens. Now, there's this thing they call Igbisu, okay? And there's
Which means
this
they have faith
area
in
where
whatever they believe in.
they have faith. That's the thing. The belief gives them faith. You have to believe first to have faith in it. Okay? So they have that thing. And I've seen a lot of things happen where boys are dancing and flinging whatever,
Sorry,
and bullets are not hitting.
Benjamin. Should
But
we
I
wrap
ask a
up?
question. Okay, let me just be quick. Ask a question, ask them all this, ask them a question. Okay, at the end of the day, all the flinging and all that, what really kills those boys? The same bullets that would have been, waded away by that Tekbisu. So how far does it work? What is the proof of evidence of that thing that you're believing in? It's just because the person musters some kind of faith and he dares himself. But in the end, belief, once you have any kind of belief on something, you have become religious. It's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be crowd followed. And when you say spiritualism, there is nothing extra. We make it look like there's something extra. Yes, I agree with you that there are forces in nature that man does not yet understand. I mean, in the whole of the universe, we are like in a beach and we're picking up a grain of sand. That's all we know. On the whole beach,
Can
we're
I
picking
ask
up a grain of sand. In the universe, that's all we know. So
Mr.
from this point that we know, we have come to conclude that there's a lot, yes, there's a lot more out there, but then to say definitely that it must be a God because we do not understand these workings of nature yet, that's like I don't know how to put it, but that's the most inconclusively conclusive conclusion at all. It makes sense what I say now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think
you,
what you're doing is actually
Mr. Kingston,
projecting your
please, can you just
position.
hold on a minute? Let me so I don't forget what I want to say to Mr.
Okay,
Benjamin.
quickly. Azili is speak next here.
Okay.
All right, quickly.
I was going to say something here that science people say something. They say energy cannot be destroyed; it can only be transferred. And what do they mean by that? You see, the thing is, I think when you say things like "there's nothing more," you're not just saying things outside. You're saying to yourself. You're also saying there's nothing more to you. And that shows that you don't know who you are. And we have to understand that life is a process, right? We don't know.
Excuse me. I know who I
You
am.
know,
You say you don't know who you are. then you're thinking
The
for me.
problem with this, the
Can
problem
you
with this
let me
conversation is
finish? Can
that a
you
lot
let
of
me
people are
finish? Can you
projecting
let
their
me
own
finish?
position on other people, and which is wrong.
No, no.
You are coming
Can
off
you
like an
let me
atheist,
land?
Benjamin.
Hello, please.
Okay,
Let's
hold
not.
on,
Don't
hold on.
interrupt other people. Don't
Hold
interrupt other
on.
people.
Let Olori land. Let Olori land.
Because
Please
when
let
you
her
say things
finish.
like this, right? You're not just saying it to because you don't believe things. You're also saying it to yourself, right? And if you say there's nothing more, are you saying there's nothing more to you? I'm not saying that I'm imposing my beliefs on you. I'm just asking you a question and I want you to reason and think about it. And we have to understand that life is a process. You might be 40 today. In the next 40 years, life will reveal something else to you and it changes your beliefs or views. And you don't really know what it is. And also, humans have level of consciousness. Understand this. There are things that you might not understand, somebody else would have, because they've gone to that level of consciousness. And these are the things, you see, when you say things like the ancient people do not know what they're saying or they didn't have, yes, they might not have had how to create electricity. But we have to understand that every knowledge we have now was gotten way back. There is an evolution of knowledge, right? Even tomorrow, if you give it to a child now, they're going to grow on that. That's how it works. So it's not like there's somebody that has more and somebody that has less, if you're weighing it. And these ancient people have built things that we are still trying to find out how did they do it. These guys were the first people. Let me now break it down to you here. The ancient people, they were more balanced with nature than any other humans. And that's the purpose of humans. You think what we are doing now, whereby we're having climate change problems, there are problems in the world, people are killing themselves, there's no harmony, is that what man really is? What we really are is to balance and live in harmony with nature, which they did and which they understood. And all the doctrines they have placed down is what we're using now. I'll give an example, right? Before science started doing empirical knowledge and all of that, and started analyzing and getting data and placing it all together, there's a practice in Indian during their meditation. I just got about it. So now, when they believe that from the spine to the brain, you can meditate and then waking some certain elements in your body, certain awareness of elements in your body. And science now prove that was ancient. And they proved it by studying the vagus nerve, which is one of the most important nerves in our body. It connects your heart, your everything, all your spontaneous actions. It connects it to your brain. So when we are saying things about ancient people, we need to study them and understand that they are way ahead of us. They might not have done this electricity and everything, but even the nuclear weapons we are discovering today is killing us. We need to understand these things because we think that we are powerful. We are more powerful than nature. We are not.
Sorry to interrupt. I want to ask, can you repeat that experiment? The thing that you said ancient people knew, and then
it connects your spine to your brain. And these Indian guys, millions of years ago, they know about it. Even in Yoruba, let me even bring it down to Yoruba people. Yoruba people specialize in studying Ori. Before science started knowing what the brain is, what is the left hemisphere and what's the right hemisphere, Yoruba people have a study of that. So we have to understand that these people are not just speaking, and they are not just speaking out of air. They have done the research, they've done the work. Now, I'm going to say on the spiritual aspect part, science proves that nothing can be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. We have to understand that. And how do they know these things? They know it by what are the elements that makes up a human being? Water, air, sand, and fire. And when you want to die, the Kemet doctrine says, when you want to die, these elements start to depreciate and leave your body. The last thing that leaves your body is air. And if you look around you, air cannot be destroyed. So let's try to reason. We might not know all these things. But when we start to think and we start to relate with nature, we'll know better about ourselves. I'm Olori and I'm done speaking.
Okay. You said a lot of things that I would really like to respond to, but wow.
Like I can't even catch up with a lot of them. But okay, but let me just
Hold on,
maybe
sorry,
just dwell on the very last thing you said.
Jaden.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
before
I'm so
you
sorry. I'm
go,
so sorry.
Azili has been blinking. Azili
If I
supposed
don't
to
go
talk.
now, I'm going to forget. So let other people just talk. I'll just forget for because I'm definitely going to forget.
Sorry. Okay, Azili, quickly, Azili.
Okay, I just wanted to add to what Ife was saying earlier about spirituality because I asked somebody I know who identifies as spiritual but not religious, and I just wanted to share her response because I feel like it will give you some insight on what people who are actually spiritual like that think like. Now she says she believes that um these supernatural things exist. And by beliefs here, I want to point out the difference between belief with an F and belief with the VE at the end. What she has is the belief with the VE. She believes that those things are there, but she does not have belief in them, especially she does not subscribe to anything. She believes in ghosts, she believes in gods, she believes in all of those things, but she doesn't worship anything, she doesn't subscribe to anything. Those things do not affect her life. She just acknowledges that they're there. Now I do not support this. I feel like whatever she feels is inexplicable and has to be attributed to um
Experience.
supernatural, supernaturalness or whatever. I feel like those are things that human beings do not currently know about, the things that we do not currently understand. And as humans evolve, as humans grow, our understanding of the world that we live in evolves as well. And we grow, we learn things. And eventually, these things that we consider supernatural today are going to be understood at some point. We're going to know what they are. So I just wanted to share what her explanation was. Okay.
All right, thank you. So, Jaden, before you forget,
Okay. I've actually forgotten. There was something. Okay, yes, I remember now. Okay, yeah, she talked about. I have a very, like, I forget things very quickly. She talked about this that we are made of air, water, fire, something. That was an ancient ideology that, of course, anybody who knows even a little bit of modern physics knows that that's not true. But yeah, I mean, if you go into the human body, we find combustion there, we find all those things there, but that's not what we are made of because those things are not the fundamental basis of physics. The fundamental basis of physics are fields, quantum fields, and all that is known from quantum field theory. So I just wanted to put that in. Like the basis of everything is quantum fields, essentially. Not just quantum fields, but should I say disturbances, ripples in those fields. Um, for example, a ripple in the electron field, I think that's what it's called, or in the electric field also. That's how you get an electron, for example. And then there's a Higgs field, where in the how will I call it now? An interaction with the Higgs field is what we call the Higgs boson and things like that. And the Higgs boson is how fundamental particles like electrons and protons and all that. That's how they get mass. Sorry, I meant quarks. Quarks are what you find in protons and neutrons.
And many of us don't know
So,
both here.
okay, well, the point I'm just trying to make is let's just forget about all those jargon I just said. The point I'm trying to make here is that earth, air, fire, and water are not the fundamental basis of reality. Yeah, those ancient cultures had their knowledge to a certain extent, but let's not make it sound like they were so ingenious that science had to catch up with them 1,000, 2,000 years after. That's just not true. That's my point. And of course, I still want to come back on that issue of humans are not apes, but maybe that's a discussion for later. It might not even be a discussion for today, maybe some other day.
humans, we are apes, so we and the monkeys of today, we evolved from a common ancestor. So,
Olori doesn't agree with that.
Yeah, that's why that's why that's why you have to define stuff for people, because if you ask human beings that are human beings, if you ask a lot of people that are humans, animals, a lot of people will be like no, but when you define it, Like when you define what animal means in a biological sense,
The truth is,
I don't
we
see
are
why
all
anybody should
animals.
disagree.
We are all animals. We just try to place importance on our own self. If you look at other animals, the way they behave, they are living according to how the nature made them. But we are so engrossed in how what made us, who brought us here, that we forget about living.
Blame evolution, please.
We are so engrossed in how we came to be that we forgot about how we had to live. That has been our problem. Always, which God created which, how God created this and that. How about why should what should we do to advance humanity? We don't think about that. We're always thinking about which God is superior, which spirituality,
But, but humanity have been
whatever.
making intellectual progress.
Yeah, evolution. Let's blame evolution. Everything is still evolution.
Yeah. So just like Isaac Newton said, it is by, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants, which means that people are discovering truth based on the previous discoveries that mankind has made, and that is where I disagree with Olori on most of the things that she has said, because she's making it seem like the ancients have more wisdom than the people
This
that are
whole
present.
God thing is
Of
it's
course, they have.
humans that created the
No,
whole idea. You get, it is humans that created the whole idea of God, spirituality, and all that. All these things we give name. It is we that created them. The God that people say they serve, it is humans that came up with it. That this thing happened,
Exactly.
it must be God. This thing happened, it must be spiritual. It is we that gave these things name and gave them life.
Human desires and the realities of human experiences are the reasons why all these things sprung out.
Yes. If we don't give them name, they will die a natural death. If people stop believing in, there's something spiritual, there's one force behind one thing, these things will die a natural death, and you will not even.
Maverick, sorry to cut you in, cut in, please. The funny thing is that most of these established, laid down customs, mates, and conventions, and all those rules, these conventions are continually enlarged. And
Of course.
most of the times they are adjusted according to social contingencies. And one other thing you have to put into consideration is pragmatic approach to it.
We are just a consequence of nature. If we like to think that we are special, we are just a consequence of nature. Just like the way lions are, goats, the goats of this world are the whales, the sharks. We are consequence of nature. We just have intellect, more intellect than these other animals, of which they interact with themselves. We don't know how they.
Not everybody get them, sha. Maybe everybody. Some people don't get that kind of thing.
These animals interact with themselves. We don't understand their language. Yes, we don't understand their language. Yes, we don't understand how they communicate with themselves. Yes, but they do on their own level. We are doing on our own level. They don't understand us, but we are not seeing them as they are not important, or they are not as important as we are. That's the problem we have. We are not living. We are just having this problem of we want to know how we came about. Person no fuck your mama born you. I don't understand. I'm done, I beg.
Okay, all right, that's all, Maverick. Before anybody talks, sorry, Kisley, I have to make one announcement before we forget, before everybody goes. Yes, this is the Free Thinkers Hangout. Please follow the house, follow everybody that is speaking, follow everybody that is present in the audience, up and down. We do our best to make rooms like this available at least once a week, so that we can discuss on both sides of the aisles. So if you are, I see some Christians peeping in. Please, we are mirrors here. We reflect energy. So if you come in peace, we are in peace. If you come with sword, we counter attack. You understand? So, but all is well. So please, Kingsley, continue. We'll soon be wrapping up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something quickly. I don't have a problem with, one thing I don't do is, regardless of my stance or position, I don't come out to condemn whatever people believe in or whichever belief system they choose to subscribe to. I don't do that, and I hang out with atheists and a whole lot of free thinkers, agnostic and whatsoever. We have an understanding. So what I think the problem we're having in conversations is that people project whatever they believe in on others, which is totally wrong. I'm not here to destroy anybody's faith. I'm not a Christian. I used to be a Christian. I was indoctrinated into it. But, some of the things Olori said about, because I understand she's coming from the point of being spiritual and all that. One of the things that I really disagree with her on, I don't know if she's open for, conversations like this. I would love to continue some of the time, but I want to point out something very quickly. This ancient, beliefs that we're talking about, if you look at the society right now, something is evident, just like the free thinkers hang out. Before now, morality, when you talk about morality, religion and all this belief system used to be a prerequisite to moral codes. If you're not religious, somebody can come out. Even in our society today, people still say that you don't go to church, you don't go to Muslim. That means you have a very bad attitude. No, it's absolutely bullshit. Morality is not dependent on religion. Before now, years back, when you talked about the ancient, it used to be a prerequisite, but it's not dependent on it anymore. People can live a good life without being attached to any religion. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Semeton is blinking. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So thank you. So I think I will agree with the initial point of Kingsley on the part of projecting, because I actually suspect that's really going on here. So and trying to project will probably even solve most of the problem, because this conversation will not necessarily change anybody's point of view anyways, but maybe can start the process. So but then I want to just speak to some of the things that Oli quite mentioned, and I understand the fact that maybe because once you maybe subscribe to some set of thinking or thought processes, you can get to know them in some ways that you think maybe they are right, and they could be. I mean, you can't be sure of anything per se. But one thing we say about ancient beliefs and everything is that you can even apply it to religion. Most times when you have a new scientific discoveries, you can see Christian, Muslims, everybody come out and say, you know what, the Quran confirms this, you know what, it has always been in the Bible, and that applies to even many cultures. So there, and the fact is that most of this experiment that has been done, and then the results and the evidence we are having now are, based on some of these hypotheses. I'll put them as hypotheses now, and then the ones that are not necessarily correct, as I cancelled out, and then the one that can stand the test of time are seen. And then you see people of maybe or that we're practicing in a very crude way come out and say something like, oh, we've been doing this for a long time and then we should owe the credit. I think that shouldn't be the case. The fact is that you've been practicing it probably in the wrong way, and this is a better way for us to understand this very concept that you've been talking about. She mentioned about Yoruba studying about the head. I mean, what the Yorubas are studying about the head does not have any real thing to do with maybe the anatomy of the head, for instance. It's just some other maybe star or something like that. Things that might have some implications, but we don't seem to see those implications in real life scenario. I mean, people have been told that they have bright stars and then they've ended up living the most horrible lives, and then we've seen people who have been told that they have bad stars and then they've had changing stars, supposedly. So stuff like that. And there are other things that the Yoruba practice. Look at the story, for instance, the creation story, the Yoruba myth, and all of those things. Nobody probably owed them as being right. And so these things, they just do a whole lot of things, so that some of them have some parallels with what is very evidential does not mean that they've actually been doing it before now. And then she mentions something particular about the vagus nerve, and I just feel that is flat out wrong, because the vagus nerve is just a pure anatomy. I mean, when you study the anatomy of the human being, you just know the vagus nerve is the wandering nerve and is the longest nerve, and it's in the autonomic nervous system. So you should expect that some of these things that you don't control, like the let's say the autonomic response, the parasympathetic or sympathetic, and any other thing that is associated with it. Of course, the vagus nerve should do that because that's what its work should be, and there's nothing special about the vagus nerve. And I cut out the vagus nerve today, all of those functions are going to stop. So, and they do that, for instance, if anyone have peptic ulcer, for instance, a part of the vagus nerve innervating the stomach is cut off, and that's the end. It's just a nerve, like there is nothing special, at least that is known medically, for instance, because that's my field, that is known in that regard. No special forces. It's just a nerve that perform autonomic functions, in the nervous system. So, and all of those things. But then I maybe it might be wrong that I'm being assertive. I just feel that those ancient practices, yeah, they might have some parallel, but some of them are just archaic, and we shouldn't necessarily assert them as having real life implication here. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to respond because I think a lot of people have spoken and they've called Olori like 4 times. And I literally do want to respond.
You're a star girl now, that's why.
Okay, I'm going to start by saying that when you said things like, oh, we don't know that, I think Maverick said something like that, we are the ones that we don't regard the animals. I think it's the new generation that don't regard the animals. The ancient people regard the animals. In fact, I'm going to say something now, yeah? When they go harvest, they mark the trees so that when they go back to harvest again, they don't pick from that tree. Now, in this world now, there's a lot of carbon emission. There's a lot of misuse of nature from this generation that is causing climate change in the world. So we are the ones that even lack more knowledge on what nature is. I'm going to go by saying this, right? The vagus nerve that I said is the revelation of its importance and the coloration of the ritual that was practiced on that importance in ancient times. Let me say something now. They didn't know what vagus nerve was, but they were practicing in a doctrine that was inherently known to them, like to derive a certain result. And if this thing now in this modern time is discovered to be this thing, of course, that means that's a deep set of knowledge. Like there was no science proof at that time, but people somehow bumped into a knowledge that says, okay, meditate. And the meditation process is very long, so I can't start speaking about it. But if you Google about it, India meditation, deep meditation on the vagus nerve, go and read about it, what they stated, and the stages of how to liberate yourself and become aware. You might say that it has nothing to do with all of that, but let me ask you a question. What is consciousness? We've been asking, scientists have been asking questions, what is consciousness all the time? Nobody has given an answer to what consciousness is. And it doesn't exist in the brain. Okay, what is consciousness?
I actually think we should have, if we had a discussion on this, because this is also something I've been studying very much recently. And I hear a lot of stuff about this consciousness thing, and I would really love to have a conversation of consciousness, but this is not the room for that. So I guess we can have a prolonged conversation on it. Yeah.
Maybe we'll create a room for that specific topic.
Well, this is just what I'm going to tell you. First of all, I'm going to give you a very point blank answer to that question. Nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean nobody, not a single person in the world today, whether scientists, non-scientists, whether religious, whether non-religious, nobody can give a proper definition, or let me not use the word proper, let me use the word satisfactory. That is satisfactory to all observers or all listeners, I should say. Nobody can give a satisfactory definition of what consciousness is right now.
That was what I was trying to say, right? Nobody can tell you what consciousness is, but
that includes. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, we seem to think that they are mad. We don't know what consciousness, but we're operating under consciousness. We're talking under consciousness. I can relate to you because I'm conscious and I know what I'm saying. But we seem to say, oh, these people are crazy. They don't know what they're saying. And then we don't know what consciousness is. And we're operating under the laws of consciousness. And let's go on to laws of nature. What everybody is trying to do is, whether spiritually, whether religiously, they're all trying to form an alliance with the laws of nature, because they understand that if everything works under laws of nature, whether physics, whether biology, these guys are trying to find the best way to work with nature, to be in harmony with nature through those laws. And those laws for humans
Sorry,
translate into
what are these
emotional
laws?
laws, right? They translate into emotional laws.
What laws are you talking about? What
Exactly,
laws
that's
are you
what I'm
talking
asking.
about?
What are the laws?
What laws am I talking about? The law of correspondence, for instance. Now,
Under what subject do you define that
polarity,
law? What law?
law of attraction, all these things. But let me just finish what I have to
Wait,
say.
under
So
what
that
subject do you
when
define
I'm
the law
done
of attraction?
questions, right? I'm going to
Okay,
say this, right?
all right.
We're emotional beings.
Sorry to interrupt you once again, and I think I'll keep quiet immediately after this. I personally prefer to have, this kind of back and forths where we question each other, and that's my own personal preference. But this is not my room, so I can't control. So sorry that I, try to ask questions like that. It's just more like a personal preference. So sorry about that. So you can carry on. I'm not going to interrupt. Just,
Sorry,
take it away.
let me add to what you said. Like there are a lot of things that you are saying that I think you need to define. That was why I had to keep interrupting you. Like when you say laws of nature, I was only thinking of something else. Then when I start hearing laws of correspondence, laws of,
I was actually, because when
I'm
she
like,
said
what
laws of
are
nature,
you talking about?
I was thinking
Exactly.
about maybe physics, maybe things
Yeah,
like Boyle's
yeah,
law
exactly,
or the second law of thermodynamics or stuff like that. But then I started hearing
exactly.
the law of attraction
Law
and
of
things like that. I'm
attraction.
like, I don't
So
get
you can just maybe you can just briefly explain what those laws means before you go on.
Out to you. There's 7 laws of nature: rhythm, relativity, cause and effect, gender, perpetual, perpetual. I'm reading out to you: attraction, polarity, rhythm, relativity, cause and effect, gender, and perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, all these things, all nature work under these laws. Gender, for instance, for there to be a creation, gender must be involved, whether plants, whether animals, whether humans. We all work under that law. And this is what I have to say, right?
Sorry. So where will we put asexual reproduction or binary fission in some plants or whatever? If
What did you
that's
say?
gender has to come in. If gender has to come in, if for reproduction to happen, where do we put binary fission
Binary
in
what?
binary fusion? When a parent organism separates its nucleus in two
Everything
and then
has
becomes
a
two.
feminine and a masculine, and everything has a feminine and a masculine side. Plants have
Okay.
masculine and feminine.
I
You
want
might
to
not know this, but
disagree.
what's the masculine and the feminine side of an
okay.
upquark?
There's this
There's this
cola, the cola that our fathers used to eat.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
cola.
we see them. Yeah.
There's a feminine one and there's a masculine one. They know how to differentiate it.
Okay,
Just
but you said you
What
literally
about the
said
mitochondria?
everything.
What the
You said everything.
mitochondria?
is that
So
not the power
I'm
of
asking what?
the cell? Mitochondria is the power of the cell, right?
Yeah, I mean, people call it that. That's where ATP is synthesized and all that.
What I'm saying is, for there to be
So no,
a creation, right? There has to be masculine and feminine energy in
What's
collaboration.
masculine and feminine energy? What do you mean by energy in the first place?
Not energy. I mean, the masculine and feminine energy has to be involved for there to be a creation.
Sorry,
Do
I
you
want to
Well,
understand
ask a
me?
someone.
question. I want to ask a question. So these things that you're saying, I personally believe that they're hinged on pseudoscience. But I personally want to ask you a question so you can help me clarify. What philosophy is this hinged upon, or what field is this hinged upon?
Um,
Um,
I really don't
I really
know,
don't know.
but I know that these are laws of nature, and you can Google it, like the laws of nature. Just Google it on your phone right now.
It all sounds
It
very
will
new
bring it
agey, I
out
should
for
say.
you. These are laws of nature. It's proven, like it's online. You can check it.
Sounds very. All of this sounds very new agey. Like
It's not
new
new
age
age. The laws
mysticism.
of polarity, the laws of gender, all these things are.
What polarity are you talking about? Polarity is a physical concept. You have the North Pole and the
Yes,
South
that's what I'm
Pole of a
saying. Like
magnet.
there are
No,
several
no, no. But
laws of nature, right?
you're not talking about physics here, right? You're not talking electromagnetic force, for example. You're talking about some kind of mystical attractiveness
I'm
in
not
the
talking about
universe.
mystical
Where
attraction. I'm saying that even the physics, right?
okay,
They work under these laws.
I don't understand physics
I
working
did
under these
physics.
laws.
I did physics at undergraduate level. I'm not a professional physicist. I read microbiology, but I did physics at undergraduate level. It was one of my best subjects at the time. And I never heard anything about law of attraction or law of cause and effects or stuff like that. Everything I learned in my physics had to do with equations. Equations. That's all. So
But you have
where
to
exactly are
understand
you
that
getting
these
this
are
idea of?
Western. Wait, you have to understand that these are
Well,
labels. Wait,
sorry.
sorry. Wait. You have to understand that these are labels by Western doctrines. And these things, wait, you have to understand the use of words, right? Words, you can say this is a neuron, this is a electron, this is a protons. Those are labels. But if you look at it naturally, you don't see protons, you don't see neurons on it. You don't see, if you check a blood now, there's no DNA written in it. It's a tag given to these things by someone. So I'm saying that if you check online now,
Wait. It's a tag
you
given
have
to
a
what?
phone,
It's a
right?
tag given to what?
What
It's a
did you
tag.
say?
You said it's a tag given to these things. What are these things that the tags are given to? What are they?
Nature now. What I'm saying that if you look at blood, are you going to see DNA
So
on it? Will you see B positive or
Can we?
zero positive?
if you use
These
an
are
electron, if
names.
you use a transmission electron microscope, you will see DNA in your blood.
No,
You
you
will
will
see.
see
You can actually see
DNA, right? You will see
you
the
can see.
particles, right? You will see the particles. You won't
Yeah,
see
you can see the
you won't
X-ray
see you
diffraction
won't
pattern.
see no. You won't see DNA written on that particle. That is a name given to it by something. It is not the property or the name of that thing. It's just a name given to it.
See, you
So
won't
a
see
Yoruba person can
DNA
say,
written on it.
a Yoruba person can say, oh, I call this, if you can call blood eje. Why are they using eje? Is blood, right? So you can call blood eje, but you cannot say that when you see blood, they write blood on blood. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
In
Nobody's
China,
saying the right blood on blood.
China.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
agree.
excuse me.
It seems your quibble here is actually it's merely nominal.
So Olori gave me
Like
an assessment,
what you have an
and I
issue with here
checked.
is just the names, it's just the labels.
The
And
law
for
of
me, I don't see why that should be
attraction.
an
Sorry.
issue at
Hold on,
all.
what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, so she told me to do a Google search, and I took some of the keywords that she told me to do, and I know I said that this thing feels like it's rooted in pseudoscience. And I checked this law of attraction, and it's literally a pseudoscience based on the belief of
Of course,
positive
it's
or
pseudoscience.
negative thoughts. And I mean, if we are going to go down that route, then I feel like that's a whole ass conversation for another day. But it's quite interesting to see how she tries to like reconcile all of this to reality, because I really want to hear her talk more about this. I've been wanting to talk to people who believe in this sort of things. However, because when she came with this whole scientific point of view, and I can't remember what exactly it is she said, but immediately she said it, I knew that it wasn't like really following the scientific train of thought.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, and other places that podcasts are available. Then also check out the show notes for links that you might find relevant and useful. Have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next one.